This is part 2 of the True One Piece series. In the first video, I argued that One Piece is not merely attacking tyranny in general, but is targeting the God of the Bible more specifically. In this video, I'm going to show how the series inverts Genesis. So the world government is known to suppress knowledge about the Void Century, or the Ancient Kingdom, destroying any attempts to read the poneglyphs that might reveal the truth about that time. This parallels the trope in certain Gnostic or occult traditions where a church-like institution erases or demonizes alternate knowledge, like forbidden texts or heretical manuscripts, to maintain power. In One Piece, the Void Century is a 100-year gap in recorded history, containing secrets of an advanced or idealistic civilization known as the Great Kingdom. This is obviously invoking the pre-flood, antediluvian world, like Noah's era or Eden, lost to cataclysm, with the current church, world government, rewriting history to hide the truth. Ohara's main library is literally called the Tree of Knowledge, a 5,000-year-old giant tree storing records and archaeology from across the world. The One Piece wiki itself even notes the likely reference to the biblical Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil. We know Oda takes inspiration from the Old Testament. There's also a treasure tree Adam and sunlight tree Eve in another location. And in SBS Volume 43, a reader asked whether the giants' names Sodom and Gomorrah were taken from the Old Testament cities. Oda responded that it is where I got the names from. Recent manga revelations confirm the world government is using ancient weapons like the Mother Flame, to raise the sea level. Literally a weaponized flood to drown the old world and maintain control. Chapter summaries describe Luluzia's destruction by the Mother Flame, leading to a massive sea hole, global earthquakes and tsunamis, and about a 1-meter sea level rise with flooding and submersion. This casts the god figure, Imu, as the one bringing the flood to suppress humanity, not to judge sin, a classic Gnostic reversal of the Genesis flood. They are literally drowning the world to maintain their throne. It reframes the pre-flood world, the Ancient Kingdom, not as a sinful place that needed destroying, but as a utopia that was unfairly murdered. This is 100% consistent with a Gnostic view of the flood, where the demiurge tries to drown the spiritual humans to wipe out the spark of divinity. There's even an ancient colossal ark called Noah that's associated with the messianic figure Joy Boy. Joy Boy made a pact with the ancient Poseidon to raise the colossal ark Noah so fishmen could live under the sun. Instead of it being the tool God told Noah to build to save the righteous, Joy Boy is presented as sorrowfully failing by being unable to save everyone with the ark. Concerning the erased history of the Void Century and Ancient Kingdom, Maiola writes, "This is a silence enforced with absolute genocidal prejudice. The world government has made the study of this period the ultimate capital crime, a transgression punishable by the complete and utter annihilation of not just the researcher, but their entire community. The only reason this history is not lost forever is because its authors anticipated its erasure. The indestructible poneglyphs scattered across the world are the only surviving records from this lost era. They are the final, defiant testament of a people who knew they were about to be silenced, a story carved in stone to ensure that no lie, no matter how old or powerful, can last forever. The Void Century is the central mystery of the entire saga, the historical black hole from which the world government was born, and into which the answers to every major question, from the will of D to the nature of the One Piece, will eventually be found. It is the story of how the world that is came to be, and the secret that, once revealed, will give the world the power to become what it ought to be. What that forbidden history tells, as pieced together by the martyred Professor Clover in his final moments, is the story of a great war. The Void Century was not empty. It was the stage for a world-altering conflict between two titanic forces. On one side stood a single colossal civilization known only to history as the Great Kingdom. By all accounts, this was a kingdom of immense prosperity, technological advancement, and a powerful unifying philosophy. Its specific ideals are lost to time, but they were so potent and so threatening to the established monarchies of the era that they became the catalyst for a global war. On the other side of this conflict was an alliance of 20 kingdoms. Fearing the influence and power of the Great Kingdom, these 20 royal lines joined their forces to wage a war of total annihilation. The 100-year blank in the historical record is the period of this devastating conflict, and its silence is the sound of the victors erasing the vanquished from existence. The alliance was triumphant. The Great Kingdom was not just defeated, it was utterly destroyed. Its name, its people, and its very philosophy systematically scoured from the pages of history. This victory was the genesis of the modern world. Having eliminated their great rival, the 20 kingdoms came together to form a new global power, a permanent institution designed to ensure that such a threat could never rise again. This was the birth of the world government. The descendants of 19 of these 20 victorious royal families would move to the holy land of Mary Joie, abandoning their kingdoms to become the gods of this new world order, the celestial dragons. The one exception was the Nefertari family of Alabasta, who chose to remain and rule among their people, a decision whose full implications have yet to be revealed. The entire structure of the current world, from the authority of the 5 elders to the divinity of the world nobles, is therefore built upon the ashes of this ancient, forgotten kingdom, making the act of remembering its name not just an academic pursuit, but the ultimate act of rebellion. The scholars and archaeologists of Ohara are researching the poneglyphs, forbidden writings about the missing Void Century. And the world government outlaws this and labels them demons of Ohara. The government responds with a buster call, flat-out annihilation of the island and destruction of the Tree of Knowledge itself. I think buster calls are supposed to invoke the idea of a nuclear bomb or something like a big bombing. The world government's cover-up suggests that the Great Kingdom held truths or power that, if rediscovered, would topple the government's authority. Maiolo writes, Ohara, a name synonymous with both the pinnacle of scholarly achievement and the ultimate price of forbidden knowledge. 20 years prior, Ohara had been an island of academics, home to the world's largest library and its most brilliant archaeologists. Led by the venerable Professor Clover, they had committed the world government's ultimate taboo. They were deciphering the poneglyphs, seeking the true history of the Void Century. This pursuit of truth was deemed the greatest of all crimes, a threat to the carefully constructed order the world government had maintained for 800 years. Their response was not an arrest or a trial, it was an eradication. The buster call was the government's most extreme military protocol, a tool of absolute annihilation. Upon its signal, 10 of the Navy's most powerful warships, commanded by 5 vice admirals, would converge on a single target and obliterate it without distinction between civilian and combatant, guilty and innocent. The goal was not subjugation, but erasure. Ohara was the target of one such call. The island of scholars was bombarded into oblivion, its library burned to the ground, and its people slaughtered, all to silence the history they had uncovered. The sole survivor of this state-sanctioned genocide was an 8-year-old girl, Nico Robin. The bounty placed on her head was not for any crime she had committed, but for the knowledge she represented. She was the last living person who could read the poneglyphs, the last ember of O'Hara's flame. The study of the poneglyphs, the indestructible stones that hold the only record of this era, is not merely forbidden, it is the ultimate capital crime, an act of intellectual heresy punishable by complete and utter erasure. The Tree of Knowledge, the world's greatest library, was set ablaze, and the scholars who sought only to understand their history were gunned down as criminals. The world government eventually abducts Nico. Maiolo writes, "She was being led across the Bridge of Hesitation, a final walkway towards the monolithic gates of justice, beyond which lay a fate worse than death. It was here, with his prize in hand, that the loathsome director of CP9, Spandam, began his victory speech. He reveled in Robin's despair, taunting her with the very past she had tried to shield her friends from. He spoke of the crime of her birth, of the island of devils, O'Hara, and the sin of seeking forbidden knowledge." So you could see this strongly resonates with Gnostic narratives, where the demiurge-like authority restricts knowledge that could liberate humanity from spiritual bondage. You know, it's the serpent in Eden storyline where the knowledge once suppressed is what would truly free mankind, allegedly. Political scientist and international relations expert Akos Cooper, I don't know how to say that, he writes, "In the story of One Piece, our heroes seek treasure, but this treasure, we learn, represents a quest for truth, which means uncovering the injustices through which the world government was established. I have argued that Luffy's voyage is not the story of a typical swashbuckling hero, but instead symbolizes a quest to uncover systematic problems of political order in his world. The rule of the world government in the story is based on some dark secrets, which, if unraveled, would undermine its rule. The fact that Luffy the pirate and Nico Robin the archaeologist, together with their mates, seek to uncover this secret is very symbolic. This is so, first, because pirates can symbolize the possibility of an alternative form of social organization, different from what citizens under the world government experience. Second, Nico Robin stands for the power of knowledge. That is, overturning the rule of the world government does not depend on the power of weapons, but on opening the eyes of the world's citizens to the true nature of the world government's rule." So this brings us to one of my stronger points for the Genesis theme. You have the devil fruits, which unambiguously suggest a forbidden fruit theme, especially when these fruits grant superhuman abilities, akin to the serpent's promise in Eden that eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil would make humans like gods. Their origins and lore are even associated with Sunlight Tree Eve. One Piece pirates who partake of devil fruits gain unique powers, effectively surpassing normal human limitations. Even eating them is associated with kind of making a deal with the devil. Maiolo writes, "These legendary treasures, said to be the incarnations of the sea devil, grant their consumer a single extraordinary ability in a Faustian bargain that forever robs them of their ability to swim." So, you make a deal with the devil, the sea devil, to never be able to swim again in order to get these powers. Maiolo writes, "Egghead, the island of the future. This was the home and laboratory of the world government's greatest scientific mind, Dr. Vegapunk, a figure whose name had echoed through the narrative for hundreds of chapters as a ghost in the machine, the unseen architect of everything from the Pacifista to the secrets of devil fruits. He proposed a groundbreaking theory on the origin of devil fruits, suggesting they are not magical curses, but manifestations of humanity's collective desire for evolution, a dream of what could be, which is why the sea, Mother Nature itself, rejects them as unnatural." So what is the forbidden knowledge? What is the whole point of the series? Where is it all leading? What is the One Piece? Apart from, as we're going to see, it's actually a little bit of Luffy himself. But beyond that, what is the message? What is the forbidden knowledge? The hidden truth? Well, we're going to see that it's just the simple idea or dumb idea claim that God is a joke. All of what you've heard about God is a joke. That's basically what he's trying to say. Here's what Maiolo writes. It is the destination that has defined an entire era. The name whispered by every pirate with a dream in their heart and a flag on their mast. Yet, Laugh Tale is more than a mere island. It is an idea, a punchline to an 800-year-old story, and the final, explosive truth at the center of the world's greatest lie. It is the end of the Grand Line, the home of the One Piece, and the place where the history of the world, as it was truly written, awaits its final reader. For decades, it was known only as the Last Island, a place of myth. Its true name was a secret revealed only after the Pirate King's execution, a name he gave it himself. The origin of its name is, in itself, the greatest clue to the nature of the treasure it holds. When Gol D. Roger and his crew finally set foot on its shores, the first to do so in 8 centuries, they did not find mountains of gold or a throne of jewels. They found a story, a ridiculous, unbelievable, and utterly hilarious story left behind by the enigmatic figure of the Void Century, Joy Boy. Whatever this tale was, whatever truth it contained, it was so profound and so absurd that Roger and his entire crew could do nothing but laugh. In that moment of shared, world-shaking mirth, he christened the island Laugh Tale, a name that transforms the quest for the One Piece from a mere treasure hunt into a search for the punchline to history itself. This revelation reframes the island's purpose. It is not a vault, but a library. The One Piece is inextricably linked to the true history of the Void Century, the story of the Great Kingdom, the Will of D, and the war against the 20 kingdoms that would later become the world government. To reach Laugh Tale is to inherit this forbidden knowledge, a truth so powerful that the government has spent 800 years and committed genocide to keep it buried. This is why the island cannot be found by chance. It is a destination that must be earned, its location a secret protected by an ancient unbreakable code. As revealed at Lodestar, its coordinates can only be pinpointed by finding and deciphering the 4 Crimson Road poneglyphs, their texts combining to form a map. It is a quest that requires not just the ambition of a king, but the unique, forbidden knowledge of an O'Haran scholar, a fated convergence of dreams that makes the Straw Hat Pirates the first crew since Rogers with a genuine chance of reaching it. Laugh Tale is the ultimate nexus point, the place where all the world's mysteries of gods, demons, and a promised dawn will finally be brought into the light. The laughter implies that the treasure is a truth, an idea, a story. It is the full, unredacted history of the Void Century, the tale of the Great Kingdom, the Will of D, and the 20 kings who founded the world government. But it is not a dry or solemn history. Roger's reaction suggests that the truth is a grand cosmic joke. Perhaps the revered founders of the world government were not noble heroes, but cowardly, foolish, or hypocritical figures whose ascension to godhood is the punchline to a divine comedy. Joy Boy's story is not a tragedy to be mourned, but an absurdity to be laughed at. The One Piece, then, is the ultimate inheritance, the forbidden knowledge that reveals the 800-year reign of the gods to be a complete and utter farce. It is the proof that the celestial dragon's authority is illegitimate, their divinity a lie, and their entire world order a monstrous crime built on a forgotten history. Finding the One Piece is to find the moral and historical justification for a final global war against the gods. This is the very future that Kozuki Oden foresaw. After his journey to Laugh Tale, he returned to Wano, not with a treasure, but with a mission, to open his country's borders in preparation for a great battle that would occur in 20 years, a battle that would bring the dawn of the world. The One Piece, therefore, is not merely a destination, but a catalyst. It is the inheritance that Joy Boy left behind for a successor who could not only find his story, but could also finish it. It is the convergence of the truth that delegitimizes the old world, the Poneglyphs' history, the means to create a new one, the plan involving the ancient weapons, and the fated arrival of the one person with the will to see it through, the next Joy Boy. It is a treasure that does not make one rich, but makes one a revolutionary, providing the final, necessary spark to ignite the flames of a war that will burn down the old world and, in its ashes, bring the long-awaited dawn. So as we close out here, we'll just look at a few more little examples of how the series often invokes Edenic imagery and themes. There are tons of lost worlds of giants and leviathans, like the Sea Kings. There's also, in the new season that came out today, there's an island with two giants on it that's called Little Garden. Maiolo writes, the log pose, their special compass, led them to an island known as Little Garden, a name that proved to be a staggering misnomer. This was a land forgotten by time, a prehistoric jungle where dinosaurs roamed and the flora grew to monstrous proportions. It was a place where the crew was dwarfed by everything, a feeling that was soon personified by the island's two colossal inhabitants. They were Dory the Blue Ogre and Brogy the Red Ogre, giant warriors from the legendary land of Elbaf. For 100 years, they had been locked in a duel to the death on this island, their battle a daily ritual of earth-shattering blows. So this Little Garden's supposed to be in this new season of One Piece on Netflix. In the anime, the characters haven't yet made it to Elbaf, the land of the giants. Maiolo writes, before this final war, however, lies one last great adventure, a destination whispered of since the crew's earliest days on the Grand Line, the land of giants, Elbaf, a place of warrior pride and ancient lore. Elbaf is heavily implied to be the location of the final road poneglyph and a critical nexus of information about the Void Century. So, giants have the critical information about the pre-flood world, or the Void Century. So that's interesting, and I guess in the manga they have made it there, but in the anime they haven't yet made it yet. But that's all I have for now. You can see that the show, the series, the manga clearly invokes Genesis. In fact, I'd say its whole point is to say that the serpent was right, God is a joke, and we should rebel against him. It's not a good idea. We'll continue the series next time as we look at the general morality, even more so, of what's being pushed. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.